Physics paper question 1. The length L, breadth B and thickness T of a block are measured with the help of a meter scale. Given L equals 15.12 plus or minus 0.01 centimeter, breadth equals 10.15 plus or minus 0.01 centimeter, thickness equals 5.28 plus or minus 0.01 centimeter, the percentage error in volume is. Now let's first find out the percentage error in the length, breadth and the thickness respectively. So percentage error in length will be delta L by L multiplied by 100, which equals 0.01 divided by 15.12 multiplied by 100, which would come out to be 0.07%. Same way I can find the percentage error in breadth, which is 0.1, and thickness, which is 0.2. Now since the volume of the block would be length into breadth into thickness, the error, total error would be addition of the errors of the length, breadth and thickness, that is 0.07 plus 0.1 plus 0.2, which is 0.37%. That is option C will be your correct answer. Question 2. 1 kilowatt equals. Now 1 kilowatt would be equal to 1 into 10 raised to 3 into 3600 watt second, which will be basically 36 multiplied by 10 raised to 5 joules. So that is option B. Question 3. The displacement time graph of a moving particle is shown below. The instantaneous velocity of the particle is negative at the point. So wherever the slope is negative, the instantaneous velocity would be negative. So the slope at point C, D and F is positive. So at point C it is positive, point F it is positive because it is moving, the graph is moving upwards, whereas from D to F the graph is moving downwards. So point E, the slope would be negative, because of which the velocity of the particle would be negative. That is point E would be your correct answer. Question 4. Neglecting the air resistance, the time of flight of a projectile is determined by. The time of flight is given by 2u sine theta divided by g, which is basically 2uy divided by g. So this uy is nothing but the vertical component of your velocity u. So basically the vertical component is what helps in determining the time of flight. So correct answer would be option A. Question 5. The wheel of toy car rotates about its axis. It slows down from 400 rps to 200 rps in 2 seconds. Then the angular retardation in radians per second square is. Now omega 1 would be 2 pi multiplied by 400 radians per second. Omega 2 would be 2 pi multiplied by 200 radians per second. So alpha would be 2 pi 400 minus 200 divided by 2, which is 200 pi radians per second square. So that would basically mean option A is your correct answer. Question 6. The backside of a truck is open and a box of 40 kg is placed 5 meters away from the rear end. The coefficient of friction of the box with the surface of the truck is 0.15. The truck starts from rest with 2 meters per second square acceleration. Calculate the distance covered by the truck when the box falls off. So here the various forces acting on the block can be shown this way. That is, if this is the block, there is an upward force, downward force and force on each of the sides. So downward force is mg, upward force is normal reaction, capital F will be the force in the backward direction and small f will be the force in the forward direction. Now capital F, that is the force in the backward direction, will be equal to ma, which is 40 multiplied by 2, that is 80 Newton. Its motion will be opposed by a force of friction, which is small f, which is equal to mu n, which will be mu mg, which will come out to be 60 Newton. Acceleration of the box related to the truck towards the rear end is capital F minus small f divided by small m, which is 80 minus 60 divided by 40, which is 0.5 meters per second square. If t is the time taken by the box to fall off the truck, so s will be ut plus half at square, initial velocity being 0, so s, which which is 5, equals to 0.5 multiplied by, that is half multiplied by 0.5 into t square. So from here I will obtain t as root of 20 seconds. During this time the distance covered by the truck would be x equals to 0 multiplied by t plus half multiplied by 2 multiplied by root of 20 square, which comes out to be 20 meters. So correct answer would be option A, 20 meters. Question 7. If the surface is smooth, the acceleration of the block M2 will be. Now here this is a diagram given to us. So they are asking us, if the surface is smooth, we are supposed to find the acceleration of this block. This is block M2, this block will be M1. So let's first put down the forces acting on it. So M2, the force acting on will be M2G, downward force. Acceleration is downwards, A2, and it is moving with the distance x2 downwards. The tension in this string will be T2. Let the tension in these strings will be T1. So when this block is moving downward, this block will be moving towards the right. So that acceleration will be A1, moving by a distance x1. So when this moves by a distance x1, this moves by a distance x2. Now from the force diagram, I can say T1 equals M1 A1. T2 equals 2 times T1, that is basically T2 here would be equal to 2 times T1. So I will have M2G minus T2 equals to M2A1, that is M2G minus this T2 would be equal to your M2A1. That is basically difference of these two will be the resultant force, which leads to the acceleration A1. Same way I have M2G minus 2T2. So this 2T2 can be written as minus 2T1 equals to M2A1. This is my third equation. Total work done by tension should be 0. Hence I will have T1 x1 minus T2 x2 equals to 0. So I will get T1 x1 equals to T2 x2. Now since T2 is 2 times T1, T1 will get cancelled out, so I know x1 is equal to 2 times x2, or I can write this as d square x1 by dt square will be equal to 2 times d square x2 by dt square. This basically means that a1 will be equal to 2 times a2. Now after solving all the equations, I would obtain that a2 would be equal to m2g 4 divided by 4 m1 plus m2. So this is basically obtained using equations 1, 2 and 3. So using these three equations, that is basically substituting the value of a1 here and using the combination of equations, I will get the value of a2 as m2g divided by 4 m1 plus m2. That would be option A. Question 8. A particle moves along the x-axis from x equals to x1 to x equals to x2. So it moves from x1 to x2 under the action of a force given by F equals 2x. Then the work done in the process is, now force is given as 2x. The particle moves from x1 to x2. Work done will be integral f dx. So work done will be integral x1 to x2 2x dx. So integrating this, I would get the final answer as x2 square minus x1 square. So your correct answer would be option B. Question 9. 3 stationary particles A, B, C of masses Ma, Mb and Mc are under the same action of same constant force for the same time. If Ma is greater than Mb is greater than Mc, the variation of momentum of the particles with time for each will be correctly shown as. Now change in momentum equals force into time, and it does not depend on the mass of the bodies. So irrespective of the mass of the bodies, the momentum would remain the same. So that's why for all the three particles, this is what the graph would be. That is option D would be your correct answer. Question 10. If the radius r of Earth suddenly changes to x times the present value, the new period of rotation would be. Now, as no torque is being applied, angular momentum would be I omega, which is constant. So from here I would get 2 mr square, that is 2 by 5 mr square, multiplied by omega is 2 pi by t, will be equal to constant. So basically I would obtain r square by t, which should be equal to constant. Differentiating with respect to time, that is applying u by v, I would get t multiplied by 2r dr by dt minus r square dt by d capital T by small dt divided by t square equals to 0, as in on the right hand side differentiation of a constant would be 0. So this would give me 2 tr dr by dt equals to r square dt by dt. That would basically give me d capital T by d small t equals to 2t by r dr by dt. So my correct option here would be option B. Question 11. If then radius of Earth r and the height h at which the value of g becomes 1/4 will be. So we have to check the radius of Earth at which the height becomes 1/4 will be. So the value of acceleration due to gravity at height h above the surface of the Earth is given by g double dash equals g divided by 1 plus h by r the whole square, which basically is equals to g 1 plus h by r the whole raised to minus 2, which is equals to g 1 minus 2h by r. So here g double dash is g 1 minus 2h by r. Here it is given that g double dash is 1/4 of g. So that would be g by 4 equals to g 1 minus 2h by r. Solving this, I would obtain the value relation of between h and r as h equals to 3r by 8. So your option B would be your correct answer. Question 12. A steel wire of cross-sectional area 3 multiplied by 10 raised to minus 6 meters square can withstand a maximum strain of 10 raised to minus 3. Young's modulus of steel is 2 multiplied by 10 raised to 11 Newton per meter square. The maximum mass the wire can hold is, value of g is 10 meters per second square. So Young's modulus, which is basically stress by strain, can be written as mg divided by a multiplied by the strain. So from here I would get m equals to y multiplied by a multiplied by strain divided by g. Substituting all the values, you will obtain the value of small m as 60 kg. So option B would be your correct answer. Question 13. A drop of liquid of diameter 2.8 mm breaks up into 125 identical drops. The change in energy is nearly. Surface tension is given by 75 Dn per centimeter. Now here capital R, which is 2.8, that is basically diameter is given, so R would be 2.8 divided by 2, which is 1.4 mm, which is 0.14 centimeter. Now 4 by 3 pi capital R cube will be equal to 125 multiplied by 4 by 3 pi small r cube. That is basically one big drop breaks into 125 smaller droplets. So now from here I can say that small r is equals to capital R by 5, which is basically 0.14 divided by 5, which is 0.028 centimeter. So the change in energy would be surface tension multiplied by increase in area. So increase in area would be surface tension being 75 Increase in area would be 125 multiplied by 4 pi r square, that is area of the smaller droplets, minus 4 pi capital R square. On solving this, you would get the answer as 74 ergs. That is option D would be your correct answer. Question 14. A liquid is kept in a cylindrical vessel which is rotated along its axis. The liquid rises at the sides as given in the figure. If the radius of the vessel is 0.05 meters and the speed of rotation is 2 radians per second, find the difference in the height of the liquid at the center of the vessel and its side. So basically I am supposed to find this height. This is the height I am supposed to find from here. So according to Bernoulli's theorem, we know pressure equals 1 by 2 rho V square, which is constant. Near the end, the velocity of the liquid is higher, so that pressure is lower. As a result, the liquid rises at the sides to compensate for its drop of pressure. So basically, rho Hg would be equal to 1 by 2 rho V square, which will be equal to 1 by 2 rho R square omega square. Hence, I would get the height as R square omega square by 2g, which will be equal to R square 2 pi V 2 pi n, basically the whole square, divided by 2g. Substituting all the values, I would get the height to be 2 centimeters. So correct answer would be option C, 2 centimeters, as all the rest of the values are given. Question 15. An object is at a temperature of 400 degrees Celsius. At what temperature would it radiate energy twice as fast? The temperature of the surrounding may be assumed to be negligible. So here E2 by E1 would be equal to T2 by T1 the whole raised to 4, which is basically 2 by 1 equals to 400 plus 273 divided by T the whole raised to 4. So from here we would obtain T equals to 2 raised to 1 by 4 multiplied by 673, which will be 800 Kelvin. So 800 Kelvin, that is option D would be your correct answer. Question 16. 1 mole of an ideal monoatomic gas is heated at a constant pressure of 1 atmosphere from 0 degrees Celsius to 800 degrees Celsius. Work done by the gas is, so the work done dW will be equal to dQ minus du, that is heat minus the internal energy, which will be equal to C2 T2 minus T1, this is the heat, minus internal energy CV T2 minus T1. So basically I would get R T2 minus T1. So your R being 8.31 multiplied by T2 minus T1 is 100, which will give me 8.31 multiplied by 10 raised to 2 joules. So correct answer would be option D. Question 17. Which of the following is correct in terms of increasing work done for the same initial and final state? Now in thermodynamic process, work done is equal to the area covered by the PV curve with volume axis. So basically for pressure volume type of curve, your work done, so if this is my curve, the work done is basically the area under this curve. Now if I plot the work done for the different processes, so for adiabatic process, so isobaric process, this is what the work done would look like, the graph. For isothermal, this is what the graph would look like, and for adiabatic, this is what the graph would look like. For when the volume changes from V1 to V2. So this is my volume, this is my pressure. So on plotting these graphs, we can identify that in case this is for isobaric, this is for isothermal, and this is for adiabatic. So when you look at the area under the curve, so adiabatic process has the minimum area under the curve, isothermal has more than that, and isobaric has the maximum area under the curve. So hence option A would be the correct answer. Work done in adiabatic is the minimum, whereas work done in isobaric is the maximum. Question 18. The mean kinetic energy of 1 mole of gas per degree of freedom on the basis of kinetic theory of gases is the mean work per degree of freedom. So the kinetic energy of 1 mole of gas with per n degree of freedom is given by n by 2 RT. The mean kinetic energy of 1 mole of gas per degree of freedom would be E by n, which will be n by 2 RT divided by n, which would be half RT. So correct answer would be option D, half RT. Question 19. If the displacement of a particle executing SHM is given by y equals 0.3 sine 220 t plus 0.64 in meter, then the frequency and maximum velocity of the particle is. Frequency would be given by omega by 2 pi. So from this equation, omega would be 220 by 2 pi, which is 35 hertz, the frequency. Maximum velocity would be omega a. So omega is 220, acceleration is amplitude is 0.3. So that would give me 66 meters per second. So correct answer would be option A, 35 hertz and 66 meters per second. Question 20. A simple pendulum is oscillating without damping. When the displacement of the bob is less than maximum, its acceleration vector A is correctly shown, in which figure basically represents the acceleration correctly. When the displacement of the bob is less than maximum, so suppose this is the bob and this is the maximum, so we have to calculate when the displacement is actually little less than maximum, so somewhere here probably. There will be two compounding accelerations, A1 and AC, that's the centripetal acceleration, AC, and A1, that is AT, that is the tangential acceleration. The resultant acceleration A will be represented by the diagonal of the parallelogram. So if my AC, which is this way, and AT, which would be this way, then my resultant acceleration A would be, using law of parallelogram, this way. So my correct diagram that represents this is option C. Question 21. A pulse of a wave train travels along a stretched string and reaches the fixed end of a string. It will be reflected back with. On reflection from fixed end, that is a denser medium, a phase difference of pi is introduced and the velocity is reversed. So your correct answer here would be phase change of 180 degree with velocity being reversed. That is option D. Question 22. Two equal metal balls are charged to 10 and 20 units of electricity. Then they are brought in contact with each other and then again separated to the original distance. The ratio of magnitude of the force between the two balls before and after contact is. So first, the charges given are Q1, Q2, which is Q1 is 10 and Q2 is minus 20. After contact, the charges on both will become the same. So resultant Q dash should be 10 minus 20 divided by 2, which is minus 5. So on both the spheres, the charges will be minus 5. So force F1 will be 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0, 10 multiplied by 20 divided by r square, and force F2 will be 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 multiplied by 5 into 5 divided by r square. That is, before contact the charges were 10 and 20, so the force will be F1. After contact both the charges are same, that is 5, the force will be F2. So we have to take the ratio of F1 and F2. So on calculating, the ratio would be obtained as 8 by 1. That is option A would be your correct answer. Question 23. The potential to which a conductor is raised depends upon V equals Q by C, where Q is the charge, C is the capacitance, which depends on the geometry, and so this depends on geometry and size of conductor. So basically your correct answer here would be option C. Potential depends on the amount of charge and it depends on geometry and size of the conductor. That is, both A and B are correct. Question 24. Two capacitors of capacitance 2 microfarad and 4 microfarad respectively are connected in series. The combination is connected across a potential difference of 10 volts. The ratio of energy stored by the capacitor is. Now both the capacitors 2 microfarad and 4 microfarad are connected in series, so the resultant capacitance will be 4 into 2 divided by 4 plus 2, which is 4 by 3. The charge of the combination Q would be CV, which will be equal to 4 by 3 multiplied by 10, which is 40 by 3. So energy of the 2 microfarad capacitor would be half multiplied by Q square by C1, which will be half multiplied by 1600 divided by 9 into 2, which is 400 by 9. The energy of the capacitor 4 microfarad E2 would be same formula, that will give the answer as 200 by 9. So the ratio of the energy E1 by E2 would be equal to 400 divided by 9 divided by 200 by 9, which would be 2:1. So the correct answer would be option B, 2:1. Question 26. A primary cell has an EMF of 1.5 volt. When short circuited, it gives a current of 3 amperes. The internal resistance of the cell is. Now here, short circuit current ISC will be equal to E by R. That is, 3 will be equal to 1.5 divided by R. So from here we will obtain the R value as 0.5 ohm. So your correct answer would be 0.5 ohm. Question 27. A uniform wire has resistance 24 ohm. It is bent in the form of a circle. The effective resistance between the two endpoints on any diameter of the circle is. So the wire is now bent into a circle, and this is where we have to find the effective resistance between these 2 points, that is opposite ends of a diameter. So the entire wire had a resistance of 24 ohm. When the wire is bent in the form of a circle, the resistance will divide the wire in two equal at opposite points in parallel. So this will basically be the resistor here of 12 ohm and a resistor here of 12 ohm. So now both the resistors of 12 ohm are in parallel. So the equivalent resistance will be 12 by 2, which will be 6 ohm. So the correct answer here would be option A, 6 ohm. Question 28. An electron having kinetic energy E is moving in a circular orbit of radius R, perpendicular to a uniform magnetic field induction B. If kinetic energy is double and magnetic field induction is triple, the radius will become. Now E would be equal to B square Q square R square divided by 2m, which basically would give me R equal to root of 2me divided by BQ. So R is proportional to root of E and it is inversely proportional to the magnetic induction. So R2 by R1 will be equal to root of 2E divided by E multiplied by B divided by 3B, which would give me root of 2 by root of 9, which basically says R2 is equals to root of 2 by root of 9 R1. So correct answer here would be option C. Question 29. An electron moving around the nucleus with an angular momentum L has magnetic moment. So an electron moving around the nucleus has a magnetic moment mu, which is given by E by 2m L, where L is the magnitude of the angular momentum circulating around the nucleus. The smallest value of mu is called as Bohr magneton, that is mu b, and its value of mu b is basically 9.27 multiplied by 10 raised to minus 24. So here actually this information is not required, and the correct answer would be E by 2m, EL by 2m. That would basically be option B. Question 30. A small bar magnet of moment capital M is placed in a uniform field H. If magnet makes an angle of 30 degree with field, the torque acting on the magnet is. Torque acting is given by mh sin theta. We know M, we know H. Value of M and H's are not given, so we will keep M and H as it is, and theta value is 30 degree, so that will make it mh sin 30. Sin 30 is half, so that will become mh by 2. So correct answer would be option B. Question 31. The current carrying wire and the rod AB are in the same plane. The rod moves parallel to the wire with a velocity v. Which one of the following statement is true about induced EMF in the rod? So this is the rod, this is the wire, both the rod is moving in the same direction as the current with a velocity v. Option A says end A will be at lower potential with respect to B. Option B says A and B will be at the same potential. Option C says there will be no induced EMF in the rod. Option D says potential at A will be higher than that of B. Basically option D would be a correct answer, and the answer would be obtained using Fleming's right hand rule. Question 32. In an LCR circuit having L equals 8 Henry, C equals 0.5 microfarad and R equals 100 ohms in series, the resonance frequency in per second is. So resonance frequency, which is basically omega equals 1 upon root of LC, which will be 1 upon root of 8 multiplied by 0.5 multiplied by 10 raised to minus 6. So on solving this, you will get 500 radians per second as the answer. So your correct answer would be option C, 500 radians per second. Question 33. The capacity of a pure capacitor is 1 farad. In DC circuits, its effective resistance will be. Now in DC circuit, XC, first of all, XC is 1 upon 2 pi FC. In DC circuit, frequency is 0. So it 1 upon 0, which is basically infinity. So your correct answer is option B, infinite. Question 34. The speed of an electromagnetic wave in vacuum depends on the source of radiation. It, option A, increases as we move from gamma rays to radio waves, decreases as we move from gamma rays to radio waves, is the same for all of them, or none of these. So here the answer, correct answer would be option C. It is basically same for all of them. Electromagnetic waves, speed of electromagnetic waves in vacuum remains constant. Question 35. A man is suffering from color blindness for green color. To remove his defect, he should use goggles of smoky color glasses. So he should actually cannot use any goggles, as color blindness is a genetic disorder and cannot be cured. So none of this would be a correct answer. Question 36. The human eye has a lens which has option A, soft portion at its center. Option B, hard surface. Option C, varying refractive index. Option D, constant refractive index. So correct answer is option C, human eye has a varying refractive index. Question 37. In Young's double slit experiment, a mica slit of thickness T and refractive index mu is introduced in the ray from the first source S1. By how much distance the fringe pattern will be displaced? So this is basically a direct formula, and the formula is capital D by small d mu minus 1 T. That is option B is the correct answer. Question 38. When radiation is incident on a photoelectron emitter, the stopping potential is found to be 9 volt. E by m of the electron is given as 1.8 multiplied by 10 raised to 11 coulomb per kg. The maximum velocity of the ejected electron is, now here half m V max square would be equal to E V0. So V max can be obtained as root of 2 E by m V0. Substituting all your values, that is root of 2 multiplied by 1.8 into 10 raised to 11 multiplied by 9 will give the answer as 1.8 multiplied by 10 raised to 6 meters per second. So correct answer is option C. Question 39. X-rays are produced in X-ray tube operating at a given accelerating voltage. The wavelength of the continuous X-rays has values from. Here the correct answer would be option B, lambda min to infinity, where lambda min will be